Hey everybody, I'm Magnum Pine, and this is Magnum's Musings. This is where I talk about my thoughts on role-playing games, particularly those games that are being played by Initiative Zero. If you've watched some of my past ones, you'll have seen that my focus was on the Chronicles of Darkness, which was the game we were playing before we started playing Rifts, and my most recent one was on Rifts. Particularly, it was on how I do randomly rolled characters in Rifts. And it was pretty successful. People liked it, and they wanted more like it. I said, oh, cool, well, what do you want me to talk about? And so I put a poll out on our social media and on our YouTube channel, and predominantly people wanted to know about melee combat, ranged combat, that interplay between SDC and MDC, and magic. And I said, oh, cool, that gives me lots to talk about. And so I started working on musings about melee combat in Rifts. And I realized I'm going to have to make up a bunch of characters to demo this, and I'm not about to make full-fledged characters, because even though it's not nearly as long as the naysayers of Rifts would have you believe, it still takes some time to make a character. So I was going to use my easy NPC notation, which you don't know. So that made up my mind that the next musings was going to be on easy NPCs. Well, you can see here what I've made is a bit of a handout. It's going to be in the links below so that you can have it for yourself to use. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through it, and then I'm going to go through the rationale after I go through it on how I came up with this method. Regardless, there are really three kinds of NPCs. The first is the Impromptu NPC, which is one that it's like your players decided to pick a bar fight and you didn't make a bar full of patrons for them to fight, so you got to come up with them on the fly. That's the Impromptu NPC. Then there's the recurring NPC, recurring not because they're a character who keeps coming back over and over again, but recurring because they are a common trope. So, for example, the Stormtrooper of Rifts, right, the Coalition Grunt, is a common trope. You're going to encounter them frequently, the Dog Boy, or the Psy Stalker, or a Line Walker, or something like that. These are commonly encountered classes that need a little bit more treatment than just somebody you make up on the fly, but they don't necessarily require a full-blown character development. And then there's those ones that do require the full-blown character development. That's the third type of NPC. Those are the ones like Old Jack or Rasputin or Sly from our current Face of Evil campaign. They are characters just run by the game master, not the players, right? But they receive the full treatment. They've got the full skill breakdown. They've got the full power breakdown, all that stuff. Those are not easy NPCs. Those are just regular old NPCs. Easy NPCs are those other two types, the impromptu and that recurring kind. So yeah, I'm going to go through this, and we'll take a look at those, and then I'll show you how I figured it all out. So regardless of the type of NPC, there's a way that we can play that's going to simplify PC and NPC interactions. And I got this from, originally the game was the Whispering Vault, and then Monty Cook used it for his Cypher system as well. Essentially, just if you're the game master, you should roll very infrequently. Most of the rolling should be done by the player characters. Well, I guess the players. Player characters don't roll. But if a player character wants to hide, the player rolls Prowl. If they're successful, they hide. If they're not, they fail. Done. Don't bother contesting it by the NPC. Just have the PC roll. If the NPC is trying to hide, then just have the PC roll to see if they can detect them, right? Detect ambush, detect concealment, perception, right? Those are things that can be rolled by the player character to see if they are able to detect the NPC. Don't waste time rolling for the NPC to hide. I say this as a guilty party who rolls for NPCs because it was my habit that I built up for decades that I'm trying to break myself of because it just takes so much extra time. So NPCs roll rarely. The time that they always have to roll, though, is in combat because you need combat to be fair. And fair dice roll in combat is impartial, and it's just what, the NPC rolled. Right, that's just what it is. So character lives are on the line, so we want to be impartial. That said, damage can be averaged. I got that one from Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Just average damage makes things go faster, but it's also a little bit more fair because you're not about to smoke a character because you happen to get a lucky damage roll, or drag combat on because your NPCs just keep tanking their damage roll all the time. So the average damage roll is good for NPCs. So that's for all NPCs. Impromptu NPCs are just average, right? They're average dudes, which means all of their attributes are average. And in Rifts, that means you get no bonuses from your attributes if they're average. Only exceptional attributes get bonuses. And really, unless you're dealing with very particular tropes, you don't even need to give these guys character classes. If you got a bar full of juicers, yeah, you probably need to give them their character class because that's going to give them some juicer-like abilities. But for the most part, your impromptu NPC doesn't need to have extra stats from a character class, and they don't get any bonuses from their attributes. They're just average. That makes things really easy because all the bonuses that an NPC is going to rely on then come from their hand-to-hand combat skill. What that means is a low-level impromptu NPC, we're going to presume is level 1. They're going to have 15 hit points, 20 SDC, and if they happen to be a mega damage creature, we're just going to combine those two numbers to say how much mega damage capacity they would have. 35. Regardless, whether they're MDC or SDC creatures, they're going to have 35 points of damage they can take. Cool. Optionally, you can look at the RCC and OCC and add in any bonuses you get from them, right? But you don't have to. These are just impromptu NPCs. Armor, just presume they have light mega damage armor if they have armor. Now, of course, certain NPCs are going to be of character classes that give them particular kinds of armor, fine. But by and large, if they have armor, just light armor, 40 mega damage. Their hand-to-hand bonuses for a low-level impromptu NPC, 4 attacks, +2 to roll with punch, fall, or impact, +2 to pull punch. And really, those two things you're rarely going to ever roll anyway. So it's 4 attacks, no bonuses. If they happen to be proficient in an ancient weapon, then give them a +1 to strike and parry. And if they happen to be proficient in a modern weapon, give them a +1 to strike. And that's basically a low-level impromptu NPC. Mid-level is experience level 7, and they're going to have about twice as many hit points, but their SDC is the same. That gives a total of 50 points of damage that they can take, and if they're an MDC creature, then they just have 50 MDC. Armor stays the same. Their hand-to-hand bonuses are different. They're going to have 5 attacks, 2 to strike, 3 to parry and dodge, 2 with roll, punch, fall, or impact, 3 to pull punch, and 2 to disarm. Those last 3 are probably not going to get used that much, but that's what they would have. If they're proficient in an ancient weapon that they're wielding, then they get a +3 to strike and parry. And if they're proficient in a modern weapon that they're wielding, they get +3 to strike. That's your mid-level NPC. High-level NPC, level 13. They're going to have an additional 20 hit points. SDC stays the same. So a total of 70 points of damage they can take. That's mega damage if they're a mega damage creature. Same armor. Their hand-to-hand attacks are going to be 6, and they're going to have a +2 to strike, +5 to parry and dodge, 3 to damage, 3 to roll, 3 to pull punch, and 3 to disarm. Again, roll, pull punch, and disarm, not used very often with an impromptu NPC. But at this level, they get a +2 to damage. Ancient weapons, if they have proficiency in an ancient weapon they're wielding, +5 to strike and parry. Modern weapons, if they have proficiency, +5 to strike. That's it. That's for high-level NPCs. Regardless of the level, because they don't have any bonuses from their attributes, and we're not really concerned about their character class, they're not really going to have any bonuses to saving throws. If you're concerned about the character class, now you're going to have to look up these bonuses and things like that. So just straight roll saving throws. When do you use these? Well, I typically use a low-level impromptu NPC when my characters are between levels 1 and 3. Mid-level are from level 3 to about level 10 or 11, right? And then high level, you use these when your PCs are level 11 through 15. Stat blocks are useful again for those recurring NPCs, and all I did was steal unabashedly from the layout of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons to have a sort of common stat block that I can easily put important information into and create a notation that really condenses the amount of space needed to write these NPCs. The biggest notations that I have to do with the amount of damage that a character can take and their combat bonuses. So if you look, my armor is just a string of numbers separated by lines, and it's always in this order. Main body, head, left arm, left leg, right leg. Always. If there's no helmet, I put a dash where head would normally go, just to preserve that order. Likewise, health is always in this order. Hit points, SDC, MDC. Even if I'm dealing with an MDC creature, I put dashes in for hit points and SDC to preserve the order so that I remember the notation. Third number is always MDC, natural MDC. That's it. I also have a notation for movement where I put the movement of the NPC into feet per round. To do that, you take the speed of that particular NPC, which is in feet per second already. The speed attribute is in feet per second when you roll it. And you multiply it by 15 because there's 15 seconds in a round, and that's their feet per round. That becomes important. Any relevant skills or saving throws get noted here. Same with any relevant abilities and stuff like that. You can see it's always the same notation. Power, name, cost, right? Psionics, there's total ISP, power, name, cost for psionics. Magic, same thing. Magic, there's total PPE, level of spell, spell name, PPE cost. Why do I put the level there? So I can look it up easier in the book. And then Bionics, Cybernetics, Biowizardry, whatever the name of the component is, its MDC value in case it gets damaged, and a short summary, just a description of what it does. So, combat bonuses, though, they have their own notation as well, so that I always remember just from a string of numbers what this character has. Right? So it's going to always be initiative, strike, parry, dodge, damage, with a little superscript M if it's mega damage. Roll with punch, fall, or impact, pull, punch, disarm, and tangle. All the time. It's always the same 9 numbers in the same order. And I always bold when I'm typing it out, damage, or I underline it if I'm writing it out, so I know where the middle is to remind me of where damage is so I can keep track. So initiative, strike, parry, dodge, damage, roll, pull, disarm, and tangle. That's the notation. It kind of carries through into melee attacks. For example, if somebody's wielding a sword or something like that, it's strike, parry, throw, damage, disarm, and tangle. And ranged is always strike and damage. And then I have a notation for number of shots and rate of fire, plus clips and or total arrows. And that just gives me all the information that I need. To see what this notation looks like with the Stormtrooper of Rift's Earth, the Coalition Grunt, here you can see it here. There's the notation. I don't write down what these things are, I just know them. Armor for main body is 80, head, left arm, left leg, right leg. Health, this guy's got no mega damage naturally, but he's got 27 hit points and 39 SDC. And there's his movement. 330 feet per round. That's this number multiplied by 15. Here's that notation for combat. Initiative, strike, parry, dodge. Damage is bolded. Roll with punch, fall, or impact. Pull, punch, disarm, and tangle. I just have a string of numbers. That's all I got to remember. Here's his survival knife. Strike, parry, throw, and damage. Vibro knife is mega damage, so it gets the little superscript M. His laser pistol has a +3 to strike and a 5 to damage, and he's got 10 shots and 3 clips. Here's his laser rifle. It has several different modes of fire, but it's all the same notation. 3 to strike, 7 damage. 20 shots at that setting, 3 clips. Setting 2, 3 to strike, 14 mega damage. 10 shots at that setting, still 3 clips. And at the Lowest power setting, 3 to strike, 21 SDC damage. Notice there's no M. 120 shots at that setting, still 3 clips. And then any pertinent information goes above there. And that's it. This is a really compact way of notating a character with relevant skills. Notice that I've got some skills there. Those are the ones I feel that he should have an opportunity to fail. So I will roll those skills if need be. And then languages that that character speaks. And a little note down below on how to roleplay them. And that's it. Very condensed for a Rifts character. And if you've ever made a Rifts character, you know that this is extremely condensed. And that's how I do my NPC notation. So, if this is good enough for you, you can click on the link below and check it out yourself. I'm going to now go on and explain where I came to all of these conclusions. So to do that, I'm going to jump over to this. What this is a breakdown of what you get with every hand-to-hand combat system that is in Rifts Ultimate Edition at each level. So basic, with levels 1 through 15, expert levels 1 through 15, martial arts 1 through 15, assassin, and commando. Now, for your NPCs, if you're giving an NPC assassin or commando, those should be probably full-fledged, workup NPCs. If you're sending an assassin after somebody, then give them some detail, right? You're not going to have just a bunch of, you happen upon a bar full of assassins, right? No. Have them, make them a reasonable character. Same with commando. These are highly trained specialists. You probably need to give them more than just an impromptu role. Even martial arts. That's a pretty high level of combat training that an NPC would have, because most people don't know martial arts. Most people, if they're trained in hand-to-hand combat, are trained in expert or basic. Remember that basic combat means that you've learned how to fight in a formal sense, but you're not a professional. Expert is professional level combat. That's like police officers and military people. That's expert. Basic is you grew up on the streets, or you've been adventuring for a while and somebody showed you the ropes, right? Basic is like foundational self-defense so that you can get away. Expert is really about apprehension, right? You're trying to take somebody down to take them out. Martial arts is really a style, right? It's that kind of style, and assassin is for killing people, and commando is a special ops sort of thing. So really, the two forms of hand-to-hand combat that you're concerned with when it comes to NPCs, particularly impromptu NPCs, is basic and expert. But I put martial arts in there to kind of round it out. So let's take a look just at what this is like at these various levels here. You'll notice that I've highlighted 3 levels. These are the 3 levels of my impromptu NPCs. Level 1, level 7, level 13. And you say, well, why did you choose those levels? Well, this is why. If you take a look at level 1 for basic, you get 4 attacks. You have no bonuses except for roll with punch, fall, or impact at level 1. Well, take a look at expert. It's the same thing, right? Exactly the same thing. And level 1 at martial arts is practically the same thing, except you get an additional 1 to roll with punch, fall, or impact, or pull punch. And if you go back to what I wrote down, I just ignore that difference between expert and martial arts. So what that means is, and I'll do it over here on the right, I've got 4 attacks. My initiative bonus is 0. Strike 0, parry 0, dodge 0, damage 0. Roll with punch, fall, or impact is 2. Pull punch is 2. Disarm 0, and tangle 0. And there's some exceptions. Martial arts gets an additional 1. There. That's the breakdown for a low-level NPC. That's where those numbers came from. If we look at level 7, and I'll get to hit points and SDC in a moment. If we get to look at level 7, well, there's 5 attacks, 0 to initiative, 1 to strike, 2 to parry, 2 to dodge, 2 to damage, and 2 with roll, punch, fall, or impact, and 1 with disarm. If I look at expert, well, it's only 1 more for strike, parry, and dodge, 2 less for damage. Roll with punch, fall, or impact, and pull punch are practically the same. You get 1 higher for pull punch. Well, you're rarely going to be using pull punch with your impromptu NPCs, and 1 higher for disarm. Entangle, actually, if you look, only martial arts actually gets a bonus to entangle. So, what do you have? Well, martial arts is the same thing. 5 attacks. You get a bonus to initiative if you're a martial artist, okay, but still it's 2, 3, 3. 0 to damage, 3, 3, 2, and there's that entangle bonus. So they're all kind of the same at 7th level. A few variants. So if I write these down, we've got 5 there, right? No bonus to initiative. Strike 2, 3, 3. Damage, nothing. Roll with punch, fall, or impact is 2. Pull punch 3. Disarm 2. And nothing to entangle. Our exceptions, well, martial arts, you're going to get a +1. Basic, you're at -1. Damage, though, basic is +2. Apparently, you learn to hit harder if you fight basic. But martial arts, you're going to have a +1 to roll with punch, fall, or impact. Basic, you're going to be -1. And basic is also going to be -1 here. Martial arts, you're going to have a +2 for entangle. But really, look at the difference. That's not a lot of difference between the 3 hand-to-hands at that level. That's a good mid-level to have, some pretty commonalities there. So this is where I got the stat blocks for my mid-level. Same sort of thing. You compare the higher levels. You got 6 attacks, 0 to initiative, 2, 3, 3 for strike, parry, and dodge, 2 for damage, hasn't changed for basic, 4 and 4 for roll with punch, fall, or impact, pull punch, still 1 to disarm, and nothing to entangle. You compare that to expert, 6 attacks, 0 initiative, 2 to strike, 5 to parry and dodge, 3 to damage instead of 2, 2 and 3 still for roll with punch, fall, or impact, pull punch, 3 to disarm. Compare that with martial arts, 6 attacks, 2 to initiative, 2 to strike, 5 parry and dodge, 4 to damage, roll with punch, fall, or impact is 3, 3 for pull punch, 4 for disarm, and 2 for entangle. So what do we do? Well, everybody's going to get 6 attacks. Initiative, only martial arts gets a bonus to initiative. Strike gets 2. 5 for parry, 5 for dodge, which is the common one between expert and martial arts. Damage, we're going to give 3, because that's now common. It's the average, right? 2 for basic, 4 for martial arts, 3 for experts. So we're going to give people 3 damage if they're an impromptu NPC, 3 for roll, punch, fall, or impact, 3 for pull punch, disarm 3, and 0 for entangle, because those are the common ones. Where's the variance? Martial arts gets a +2. If you really want to get into these variations, basic gets a -2 -2 to parry, -2 to dodge. Their damage basic is -1, but martial arts is +1. Same with roll with punch, fall, or impact. Expert is -1 on this one. Basic is +1. Again, the variation is not huge, right? Basic is +1 for pull punch. Disarm, basic is -2. Martial arts is +1. And then, of course, entangle is just something you get when you're martial arts. That's +2. But again, look at the variation. It's not huge, right? It's not huge at that level. By and large, the variation is not that big. I guess for basic, you could argue, yeah, they should have less. Well, then fine. If it's just a basic fighter, take 2 off if they're that high a level of NPC. Cool. But it's a really simple way of looking at things. If we look at ancient weapon proficiencies, just take a look. The 3 most common ancient weapon proficiencies that are used are blunt, right, where we have weapon proficiency blunt, weapon proficiency knife, and weapon proficiency sword. Those are the 3 most common. And take a look. +1 to strike, +0 parry, +0 throw, +1 to strike, +1 to parry, +0 throw, +0 strike, 1 to parry, 1 to throw. Just give them a +1, right? That's how it would be if they had a pole arm. That's how it would be if they had a chain. Apparently axes, not very much, but forked weapons, just give them a +1 if they have 1 level in ancient weapon proficiency. Modern weapon proficiency, same thing. Handguns, you don't get anything, but rifles you do. Shotguns you do. Submachine guns you do. Right? The only thing you don't get anything for is flamethrowers, handguns, energy rifles, and heavy mega damage. So for an impromptu NPC, at base level, give them a +1. Take a look at mid-level, 3, 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, right? It averages out to about 3. So give them a +3. Ancient weapon proficiencies at mid-level, +2, +3, +3. Here's a 3, 3, 3. So give them a +3 to strike and parry. Ancient weapon proficiencies at high level, well, there's a +4 for axes, but for the common ones, it's a 5, and a 5 for sword. So give them a +5. And modern weapon proficiencies, there's a 6, 7, 4, 5, 4, 3. They're kind of all over the place. And so I said, you know what? Give them a +5. At that level, that's a good one. If you really feel strongly about it, you can give them a different number, but I say +5 should probably handle it. So that's really how I determined things. I kind of looked at where there was the greatest amount of similarity between the various hand-to-hand combats and weapon proficiencies, and it seems to be levels 1 across the board, level 7 across the board, level 13 across the board. So how do we handle hit points? Well, hit points and SDC are different in entities. SDC does not go up with level unless you take more skills or something. Hit points does, though. So let's focus on SDC first. SDC, if you read the core rules from Rifts Ultimate Edition, it's 2d6 plus 12, unless your class says something different. So for the average dude, it is 7 is the average on a 2d6, plus 12 is 19. So they have 19. Well, I say round it up to 20. Make it a nice even 20. They got 20 SDC. It doesn't matter what level they're at because it doesn't change. They got 20 SDC. Hit points, on the other hand, well, at level 1, if we go over to the right, level 1 has 11 to 16 hit points. That's the range. 1d6 plus your physical endurance. Physical endurance is average, so that's 10. Plus 1d6, your range is 1 to 6. Okay, well, at level 7, given a physical endurance of 10, you're looking at 7d6 that you're adding to that. Well, that's a range of 17 to 52. And at level 13, it's your physical endurance, which is still 10, plus 13d6. Well, that's a range of 23 to 88 points for hit points. Okay, well, what did I do here? Well, I took the average. 13 hit points is the average there, 34 there, and 55 there. So, making things easy with rounder numbers to remember, I said, okay, let's give the benefit of the doubt. 15 is near the high end of the low-level character. So he's got 15 hit points. Mid-level character averages 34. Let's round that down to 30. It'll make up for the fact that I guess lower-level NPCs are a little bit tougher, but that gives us a nice even 50 points. And here the average is 55, but let's just round that down to 50. Be kind to the PCs. And he's got 50 hit points. So that's how I generated my stats for my impromptu NPCs. Again, you can add the variations based on the different hand-to-hand combat if you really want, but what I've provided are essentially the most common values for the various standard hand-to-hands you're going to find. And again, I'm not taking into consideration things like Assassin or Commando, nor any of the fancy martial arts found in Ninjas and Super Spies or in Japan World Book. Just those 3 kind of foundational hand-to-hand. And that really gave us the stat blocks that are really easy to remember and use. So again, check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this sort of content, hit the like button. That really helps. And let me know if you want to see more like it. If you really liked it, hit subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Join us for our actual play that comes out every week. Check that out too if you want to see all of this stuff in action. Tell your friends. If you know people that, it's been forever since they've played Rifts, but they used to love it, let them know we're here. And share that link out with them. And yeah, let's let more people enjoy some Rifts, because it's been a while for some people. If you're brand new to this, I hope that you think this system is kind of cool. I do. It's not nearly as hard as people say it is. So keep watching. We'll have some more tips through Magnum's Musings in the future. And I'm Magnum Pi of Initiative Zero.